Y10K fractured. Chapter 3. Left hand of His Majesty, Captain of the 7th Palace Guard Unit, Prothos, Santron announced to Taurus' surprise, and stepped aside for the shockingly short stallion who entered. Taurus was so surprised, he nearly stood to get a better look. Taurus only knew Prothos by reputation. To his embarrassment, Taurus had been expecting a stallion the size of a colossus to stride through the door. Prothos in the flesh looked like a stallion compressed, broad through the shoulders rather than tall. Santron tactfully backed out and closed the door to the royal office. Captain, to what do I owe the pleasure of your visit? Taurus struggled to gather himself. I was apprised of a mission you wish me to undertake, Porthos said. Taurus cut in relieved. Yes, I wish to know the nature of Java's current machinations. He seems bold enough to carry them out in my presence, at my crowning. Taurus was still trying to keep the embarrassment out of his tone. Have a seat. I'll clarify anything you need. Your Majesty is gracious. I prefer to remain standing, however, Captain Porthos said, stopping far enough from the desk he could be seen over the top, while Taurus remained seated, for reasons that are obvious to you. Yes, of course, as you prefer then. How may we assist you in undertaking the mission we have set before you? May we dismiss the formalities, sire? Porthos asked submissively. They are so dismissed. You did not make me this way. Your embarrassment is unwarranted. I serve the throne willingly, and my height is no flaw, when one has a power such as mine, Porthos said. Taurus wasn't sure if he was relieved or offended. Still, Porthos had settled the matter directly. I'll allow the liberty this once, and appreciate the intent. Now, what do you need? Porthos inclined his head. Actually, sire, I may be of use to you, especially given the state of your desk. You have my full attention, Taurus told. Well, it starts with your father's selection as king, and some projects he felt important to undertake within the last year of his reign, Porthos said. Taurus removed his reading glasses and leaned back. He had spent the final years of his father's reign on expedition. This would likely be far more informative than what Taurus had seen thus far in the stacks of reports and memorandums piled across the desk. Count Axia, Arlon, sat in a less elegant but still grand cabin at the aft end of Deck 4. He had already done his duty, sending a last-minute messenger to the courthouse to find His Majesty. To have 4 lords of the court on board, all bound, as Arlen learned from his ears among the crew, for the same destination, was disturbing. Wily old King Antron XII was dead. King Taurus had rarely been in the valley since coming of age and being named co-regent. His time as regent had been spent exploring the wilds beyond the valley, chasing fantasies for all Arlen knew. Not that Arlen concerned himself much with court politics. A year ago, seeking final approval to build this vessel had been a far greater trial than designing it. Given how new some of the concepts were, putting them to river use so quickly seemed foolhardy. King Antron had not agreed with this sentiment. He had approved the final plans without hesitation for the first ship in the new class, now named HMS Renarma Sedge. The new river-class vessels would take names tied to the Renarma. It had both shocked and gratified Ireland to be granted such freedom. It had been less well received in the Grand and Lower Courts. Firestar, may a Nagron consume him slowly, did nothing but complain for months. Ireland suspected he had even attempted clumsy sabotage. That ended after Ducandus' death 4 months ago. It left Marcus as the last male heir to Lomara. Marcus, already Count Amberset, had been installed at birth by King Morlech. Marcus was also, much to Ireland's quiet approval, repulsed by the horrendous displays Firestar was putting on at Lormara Manor on a nearly nightly basis. Drunken orgies that ended with people strewn in undignified poses around the luxuriant manor house interiors. Young Marcus, from what Ireland had heard about the lad, would lock himself in his suite with his books while the parties smashed on. Under the pretense of meeting the future Lord Lamara, Ireland had brought Marcus to the shipyards to see the new riverboat just a week prior to her formal launching. Ireland had even introduced him to the king. The meeting had gone well. King Antron XII had been impressed and made an impression. Ireland wondered if he should arrange another meeting, this time with King Taurus and Prince Jabriel. Ireland leaned back into the overstuffed chair, letting it support the weight of his wings. He was definitely getting old. The cold reminded him every winter. He let his gaze drift to the cabins overhead. For all of its conventional beginnings, Morlech Antron XII's reign ended in a sudden flurry of innovations. Prince Taurus, as co-regent, had been allowed to roam far beyond the valley into areas to the west and south with his distant cousin Lothos. Arlen wondered what lay in store with the reign of King Taurus. More of what had come at the end of King Antron XII's reign, or a return to the old ways? Arlen wasn't sure which he wanted to see. He only knew the valley was on the boil, in the courts as well as the peasant ranks, like it had never been before. My father set you to work on all of this? Taurus said, considering what he had just heard. It was surprising, though Taurus wasn't sure why. It was simply a different arena from Taurus' own. Last year, yes. How far along have you progressed on these projects? As for the palace guard, poorly. The corruption is deep-seated and reaches high up. Plus, the competence levels of those in the lower rank are... Here Prothos paused, searching for the word. Disgusting, to put it mildly. I have never seen a less ready troop. I could be a falling down drunk stallion and still whip half of those idiots. And the other projects? Taurus prompted. The military force is having uneven success. It has been just over a year since I formally started the project. So far, I have 4 fully trained battalions under my direct supervision. 7 more are training under officers I trust. I expect them to be ready early next year, Porthos replied. That sounds consistent. Why uneven? Some of the men excel beyond their fellows. Others perform well and even take to the training in time. But they never reach the same level as those that truly go beyond. I've been considering how to handle it, Porthos replied. Taurus paused for thought. Station them in the palace as new guards. Replace the current lot. Porthos seemed to wince at this suggestion. That doesn't appeal. Why? Not all of the palace guard currently in place require replacement. I am still working on which ones are which. I see. Very well. It is in your hands, and I leave it there. My father trusted you. I can do no less, especially with the reputation that has preceded you. As to the last project, that is the most delicate project your father assigned. It is also the one that is going to take the most time to bring to fruition. I have placed a highly trusted deputy in charge of this work when I am not directly involved. We are investigating every noble house in the kingdom. We are still cultivating ears within each house. It is not an easy process, Porthos replied. Taurus had to agree. It wasn't an easy process at all. I will tell you as my father told me, Taurus said at last, and brought Porthos to attention. A proper monarch keeps himself independently informed. I will not end the project. However, understand, I already have a network of my own. I will compare notes when there are notes to compare. As you wish, Majesty, Porthos agreed. You require no further direction. Continue your work. Do not let me detain you. Taurus dismissed Porthos. I will have word on Olorusny soon. He inclined his head and backed out of the office. Pegasus was terrified for her life. It happened every time the door opened. Usually it meant Lord Olorusny was coming, but Pegasus knew he was not hearing. No, the person who approached the small table where she was chained by the ankles to a chair was Ericor. Where Lord Olorusny was horrible, Ericor chilled her blood and made her want to cry simply because he was there. The stallion laid a thick, manual-type book in front of her and smiled with only his mouth. It was his eyes that frightened her most. They were dead, cold, emotionless. He could be smiling, laughing, snarling, or furious, and none of it ever reached his eyes. They were always blank, empty, like colored glass. Read it, Ericor said, his tone light, almost cheerful. Yet his eyes rendered the two words into a blood-curdling command. Pegasus wanted to do nothing more than cry. Ericor cocked his head as if he did not understand her fear. Or worse, he was enjoying it. Either way, she wished he'd leave. Let her do as commanded, without him watching her. Suddenly, Ericor spoke, his tone edged with amusement. He was laughing at her fear. Young mare, life is full of things to be afraid of. For you, I am not one of them. You are far too useful to his lordship's interests to be needlessly wasted. Further, you are still young enough to serve for years yet. You have nothing to fear from me. Read. Be ready to make report to his lordship in 4 days. He has, no doubt, already set out to return home. Ericor said at length, and left without another word. Pegasus still felt he was laughing as he shut the door. Pegasus broke down in tears. She had been here since she was 6 summers old and had known only terror and abuse. Now, at 21, she was too afraid to do more than sit and whimper in the dimness before she reached for the newly delivered book. Safe travels.